Hey Saints fans, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the first round selection for the New Orleans Saints, and we're really going to try to break down, can he make an impact? How does he look when he actually played on the field last year? And where can New Orleans go from there? How important can he actually fit in terms of role? Now, as always, I'd like to do a quick reminder. Every time we start one of these film studies, remember, this film study that you're about to watch, while I do, think that I put in decent work and good work, it's not enough to build a full scouting report. You actually need to go and get enough snaps for yourself to get a good opinion and evaluation. I went and watched 4 games of Bresee. We're going to take a look at, a few different plays from a particular game that we saw him do last year, but also took out some of his rookie tape. Really enjoyed him and took out a few games from last year. We're going to go over, I think, 6 plays today. I think right at 6. And show you good, bad, etc. Just enough to give you kind of a little good taste, and we'll discuss how he actually fits on the roster. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with him as a player, here are some of the basics, his stats, and what he did. And then you also have the injury concerns that a lot of Saints fans are going to bring up, and I think it's actually fair. I know a lot of people who want to get hype on a player want to say, hey, let's not worry about that. There's extenuating circumstances, and that's completely fair. For example, the kidney infection. I mean, who prepares / knows / can predict that? That's just one of those wild freak things. But he did have shoulder surgery. He has had an ACL tear. Those are things worth noting. And as I like to tell people, when it comes to player evaluation, when it comes to scouting, it doesn't matter how they get the red flag for medicals. It's there. And context is important, but it's still there. So it is worth bringing up. Now, in terms of size, height, weight, speed, I'm not going to put his relative athletic score on the screen, but he did post an elite RAS, so y'all can check that out at relativeathleticscore.com. In terms of size, 6'4", 300 pounds. He is a prototypical 3-tech at the NFL level, and I really like a lot of the things that you'll see from him. Nice quick first step, couple different move sets that you see him utilize, and an understanding of the game that you don't see from a lot of different players. Is it perfect? Definitely a reason that he falls to the end of the first round, but a lot to really like. And if you're the New Orleans Saints needing as much D-line help as you can get, well, it makes a lot of sense. Let's actually roll it on over. We're going to go over to the tape now. So I'm going to get a lot smaller. This man's going to get a lot bigger. So we're taking a look at this one versus Syracuse. Now, in terms of where we are right here. See him? This is number 11, right? That's actually a terrible arrow. It's actually a terrible arrow because it's the one right next to it. This one. There we go. I'm writing on the screen, so that's why it's kind of all over the place. I apologize for sucking. All right, so what I want you to see in these plays is how he attacks down the line. In this case, they're going to run against him. You're getting an outside zone run here, so they're going to break it on back in this RPO. In terms of his gap assignment, he does a good job here in terms of collapsing down and breaking to the inside. Remember, he doesn't have this backside roll, so don't worry about him playing against. He's going to cross the face and get penetration. He makes it to where this play has to go backwards. So good job sweeping the shoulder and then ducking in. You see, look, we've caused, if you actually look at it from a penetration standpoint, if we were going to hand this ball off, he is actually in a position to make the play. So he has gotten good 2 yards of penetration. He's actually got working leverage there. You can tell he's the one with the forward momentum. And now it's actually the responsibility of this guy who's playing the in-man role and this outside guy to make the tackle on the quarterback. So he does a good job to basically be the one who prevents that running back from getting any type of movement. Even though he's kind of working as a backside trail if that passes off, it's still a very good play by him. It's one of those things that you make you go, damn, feeling breezy. It looks easy. Now, other guys have got to watch how they bite. This guy very clearly bit too much. This one got walled off, and this one has to now make the play. They've got the players. They've got the numbers. It's just athlete versus athlete, and they end up getting a really big game because the quarterback makes a good play after making the appropriate read. And that's what happens is you had good linebacker penetration. You had Bresee making a fantastic play, which forced the quarterback to bring it in this option, and he ends up making the better play. It's a good choice by the quarterback, but it's all spurned on. Like, that choice had to be made because of what number 11 did. Let's take a look at another play. We're going to go forward just a smidge here. Sadly, remember, I can't put all 22 on, so we got to use this broadcast footage. here he is again. Now, one thing I'm going to note about him a couple times today is you're going to see him lining up from multiple positions, and I love that. In this case, you're seeing him as a 3-tech, which is what I think he'll do the most at the NFL level, but you will see him operate from the 1, and you'll see him slide quite a bit. You'll see him use the twist stunt game. These are all nice things to see from a guy who's going in their first year in the NFL. These are pretty nice traits. All right, let's look at this one. Again, working from that inside. There's that twist stunt. Bounce through, come through, and again, quarterback making a fantastic play, but that's not, I'm not blaming number 11 for that. This is actually a plan. So what you're going to have is, this is a tackle-to-tackle stunt. You're going to have the inside crash down. We're going to try to clear this out, and then we're going to wrap around the back right here. So we get a tackle-to-tackle stunt, little twist here, and when we're looking at it from a Bresee perspective, we're going to look at it, how effective does he actually run this? So one thing we want to see, a little bit of a false step here. Didn't explode and immediately come off the hip. A little bit of extra step, not a ton. We talked about with Foskey, so it's only fair we do about it with Bryan. A little bit of a stutter step there. We want to see it explode off that hip, not that extra step. So I'll actually slow the play just a little bit so you can see it for yourself. We're going to knock it down to 25 speeds. Let's rewind it right here. So watch this little stutter step you're going to see from him. And again, little things like right there. See a little stutter? We don't need that. We need immediate explosion. Hit off that hip. That's what you want to do. The inside guy's job is to come in and clear. He wants to drag the center with him and bring the right guard by actually attacking that right guard's inside shoulder. So once you've accomplished that, the looper here has got to fly off that hip. Basically, when you have a perfectly executed twist, you kind of want to see their hips almost touching. Like the guy who's coming in the front, you actually want to be scraping by him. And that extra little stutter step probably prevented you from getting that perfect scrape. But does a good job bouncing off contact there, coming through, and honestly, good penetration by the 1-tech. Love the penetration there. That's a good twist. It forces that quarterback to bounce out, and you just got to have other guys who are getting containment and other guys who can make a play, because you did a good job of collapsing that pocket. In terms of the twist, love it. You see the power, you see the speed, good initial quickness, but you need to see popping off a little bit better in terms of not that little stutter. It's not a lot, but hey, we've talked about it with Foskey. Half a second on that stutter can be the difference between a sack and not a sack. Let's go take a look at another play that I really like from him on this one. And of course, it's forcing me to reload. All right. Up here, now you've got him lining up on the inside. See how you see that versatility in terms of we're sliding around. Now we got Bryan being the inside guy. And let's see, right here, slow. And a lot of people want to complain about this. Like, all right, why is he getting no penetration? And I've actually seen a couple of plays like this discussed on Twitter from Saints fans. And they're going to see plays like this, and they're like, well, look how weak his power, like no power transferring. And this is where it's important to see versatility, because now he's playing containment. How do we know he's playing containment? Well, one thing is to watch his eyes. Has he play it? And you can see it really well from this angle. When he's going to attack, because he's going to get double teamed essentially, he swipes the hands. Watch him right now. One, he's going to attack that inside wrist with his, and I like that. But look at his eyes. He's not trying to move. He's trying to contain. See how he's peeking left to right across that helmet. He's trying to control those A-gaps so that the quarterback doesn't escape. And in containment plays like that, you want to have the play strength to control. And that's what he does here. Now, I would like to have a little bit better in terms of control when it comes to his hand usage. And I think that he has a good hand usage in the game. I need to see him collapse that right arm a little bit better of the center. Comes down. He draws the attention of that guard you like, because that means the guard can't go help the right tackle. So that's a really good thing. You want to try to open that up. But then when it comes to the control here, I do love he takes that right arm of the center and collapses it. I do want him to get rid of that right arm a little bit better. But you see, he's got control and he's peeking. He's containing both gaps. Not a lot of times you see a guy able to two-gap in today's league. Normally when we talk about two-gapping, we're talking about it from a run defense standard. But this is actually two-gapping in terms of containment on a mobile quarterback. And we really like this type of play. This is smart, intelligent football, and even though I do think that he's best suited as a upfield penetrator, it's nice to see him be able to do these type of roles. And you saw the Saints under Dennis Allen use this with Sheldon Rankins. Nick Fairley would have containment roles going way back. So a good 3-tech can do multiple things really well. And I like to see this. Is it a flashy play? No, but this leads to a sack. Why does it lead to a sack? Simple. Remember the play we just watched where they ran the twist stunt and turned into a touchdown? Well, hey, sweet play, but against mobile quarterbacks can burn you. So let's collapse this pocket, but let's make sure that we close these gaps. We don't want to leave that rushing lane open. And that's what they do here with the A gaps, and I think it works out really well. Let's move on to another one. We've got a few more plays that we're going to take a look at, or a couple more anyway. Just kind of highlighting some of the things that he can do. So you're going to see him right here. Just note him on the screen. Actually, I'll circle him so y'all can see him right there. And let's hit this play. All right, so this time, more hand usage we're seeing. See that rip coming through, forcing the quarterback up. It ends up being a couple yard gain, but still, what are you seeing here? What we want to know. One, we want to take a look at his hands. We want to take a look at his get off. How's his footwork? How does he attack this guard? So, first thing, this is subtle, but it is big. Love the physicality and the hands there. So he engages quickly. You saw that. I was paused at that point for a reason. So, good first step. How are the hands? He's going to attack that right hand and also not allow a perfect contact with the left of the guard. See right there, see how he attacked the elbow just enough? We just want to rise him up a little bit. We want him on top of our pad, not underneath our pad. Love it. And then a real strong clap on that left side. Collapse that arm. Now we're going to rip through underneath. Bam. All right. Great penetration. In fact, you usually know that you've got a defensive tackle who has good penetration if he can match depth with your edge rushers. Edge rushers naturally have an advantage when they're rushing the arc. They usually get a wider stance. They're able to come in and attack with speed to power more. They usually can get more penetration, but it's usually wider out. So if you can get interior penetration of equal depth, man, that is a really, really good play. So we like his hand usage here. Another thing to talk about that you might hear on a scouting report or see on a scouting report, we talk about hip flexion, ankle flexion, the ability to level out, to get horizontal. That's exactly what he's doing here. Look at this, leveling out, planting that foot and getting into the pocket. So yeah, he's got a big 300-pound man on him right now, arguably close to a hold. He's going to flatten out, force him out. And he doesn't get the sack here. This doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but this is a huge W of a play. It ends up being a little 3-yard run. Sure, you want your other guys to help collapse that a little bit quicker. Usually in the NFL, this probably doesn't turn into a 3-yard run. It turns into a sack or right at the line of scrimmage. This is a huge positive. And either way, even if it is a 3-yard run, that's still a win in today's NFL. If you hold them to 3 yards or less per play, you're going to get nothing but 3 and outs and nothing but punts, typically. So I like this. This is actually a really good pass rush that doesn't show up on the screen. And one of the reasons I chose the Syracuse game is because the stat line is not super impressive. But if you come and watch it, there's some really good plays here. You can see his technique and see him showing off some nice plays. Let's move on to another one a little bit later here in the game. Just keep moving, showing off some individuals. Wrap up real quick. All right, so now I love this one because, again, talk about lineup versatility. Where can you put him? We're back in the 1. Butt high. We got everybody raised up in a 3-point stance. We're showing pressure from multiple angles. But this is just going to be a straight, my guy's better than your guy. Rip through power, take him down immediately before anything can happen. This is gorgeous. This is absolutely fantastic. Poor H-back tries to come in and help. Absolutely no shot. Look at the explosion off the line. This is another thing that I love about him. That first step can be so elite. And at times, like anybody else who has his length and his height, you can worry about attacking high. But look at this. Beating his own edge rusher off the stance. Edge rushers are notoriously known for being the fastest guys off the line. That's a big thing. Like you get an edge rusher and you're looking at, the Nolan Smiths. How quickly do they launch off from that point? Look at this. First man across the line is your tackle. That's good. That's elite first step. You want to see that. Again, he's not perfect. He wasn't as good as Jalen Carter. His film's not as good as Jalen Carter coming out, but a lot to like. And then just don't even give the offensive line a chance. Just rip straight through it, attacks that half-man relationship, and takes advantage of the break right there and just beats both of them straight to the quarterback. That is high-end DT play. Coming in, attacking the B gap. Look how he loops through here. Lines up A, attacks B, just gets straight through. That's a beautiful play. So one more we're going to look at. This is not going to be the longest film study, but again, I'm not trying to give y'all a scouting report. I'm trying to give you some highlights of the traits that he shows that look good. And this is very late in the game. This is actually close to the very last play. So you got him back in the 3-tech coming through here. And this is where you get a little bit of a slog down. And this is where I worry about him in terms of any defensive tackle. End of the game, end of the play, does he start running out of steam? One thing I'll notice here, at the snap, no longer the first off the ball. Also look at his stance, a little bit higher in the back end than he was before. These are signs that a guy's getting a little tired. And then as he gets into the rush, standing almost straight up, no real penetration. So you worry a little bit about, yeah, the motor's there, but does he tire out a little bit? And they definitely moved him around. They definitely used him in multiple ways here this game, but they also spelled him. He wasn't in here 100% of the snaps. And this isn't a negative critique. It's just something to take a look at, because at the NFL level, you are probably going to want a guy to focus on being able to be there as much as possible. So just something to take a note of with Bryan. Maybe gets a little bit gassed at the end of some of these games. Not all the time, but these are some of the big things to look at when you're taking a look at his tape. Lots of good tape here. And I think the renewed focus on trying to get this defensive line to return to the form that it once did for New Orleans is a fantastic strategy, one I commend them for. And I think that Bryan was a great player for them. Now, was he who they were probably going to draft at that position? I still think there are a couple other guys that they would have liked to have fallen instead, but he was entirely one of those guys that was an option for them at that pick from the very beginning. He wasn't a fallback plan. He was a player they felt they could come in and contribute, and Dennis Allen has said as much. I think that you can see that from him on his tape, and hopefully this gives you an example of that. And hopefully you go back and watch a little bit more for yourself. We'll talk about more in the podcast. If you have any comments or thoughts about him, leave them in the comment section down below. That's all you got to do. Let me know what you think. What do you think when you went and watched this tape? Do you see a guy who can contribute, or are you not a huge fan? I'm okay with any opinion, but I think when you look at his traits, you see a lot of good. Now he can contribute to this team. And last but not least, if you will support the channel, obviously like and subscribe, but also hit up the merch store. We've got 2 t-shirts, a mug, etc., that you can support our channel. More film studies can come, more podcasts can happen, all thanks to you. Appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for watching. Who dat? God bless. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next one. We're out.